realization, that thing, so how do you put that into a painting? Like I got these arches, I got these great sculpted things that people have given me, like, oh, this is part of this church, and there's like this empty vessel waiting to frame my painting, right? And I'm like, there's nothing that I can feel it's precious enough to put it inside of that, to chapel it, right? Like, what can be chapeled in my life? Am I making sense? Look at me, I'm down on my knees. And that's what that painting I was trying to do. Like, this is like, when Scott just asked me, where did that painting come from? Like, it was because I looked at Chuck and I said, ugh. I mean, that's really how it feels. It feels like, I'm sorry, I'm being really emotional. You guys are just wishing I got the eyes right? But I really want to say this because to me, this is it, but I don't know. But the impossibility of feeling worthy of a universe of infinite beauty. I mean, it's like, how can I just open up more in order to allow myself to be a real witness to this amazing experience of being alive? It's like, holy cow, what's the matter with us? Or what's the matter with me? Really, what's the matter with me is the one I really run into more. And then sometimes I'm really pissed off at my neighbor too. Like, do a better job helping me love this life, right? Come on, choose better, right? And so, I mean, it's like, yeah, that's it. Now, that's what I'm in front of. And it's just like, I want to try. Richard said to me, I was like Scott was a better student. I was the one that fell asleep when Richard was demoing, and I was the one that, Richard would say to me, Rosie, I would never be that vulnerable on a campus. And I was like, and it was, I'm going to say a story. Can I tell a little story? I grew up with this mother who, so I'm going to say a story. Ready? I should be painting. Do you want a story? My mother, happy mom, I don't know if you're watching. Well, Mother's Day, right? Sorry, but my mother. So when I was 13, I grew up Catholic, and I went to this. I was in junior high, and it was secular. So we had to go every Wednesday night to church group, right? You guys know that, church class. And so I'm 13, and Mr. Delagardelle was my teacher, my church teacher on Wednesday nights. And I said, Mr. Delagardelle, I just can't buy it. The story of Adam and Eve like this, I'm 13. It just can't be right. Like, it doesn't make sense that this is blah, 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 right? And Mr. Delagardelle said, well, Rose, I think what you're misunderstanding is that you're taking the Bible literally. And I was like, oh, and he explained what that meant to me. And I went home, and I was really excited that there was a way to interpret, like, that this questioning, this discomfort that I was having with this idea that I was being formed in this way. And I went home and I was like, Mom, it's like I just asked Mr. Delagardelle this question. My mom said, why do you have questions? Don't have any questions. And I'm like, and I'm like, what? And right then was the moment that I cut the apron strings for my mother. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't ask for these questions. They just showed up, And so I'm like, I was like, and so my mom said, you don't need to have those questions. Just go and, be a good girl, blah, 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 right? And so I said that story because I was talking about cutting the apron strings with Richard, because when he said to me about being so vulnerable, right? And I'm like, Richard, what do you mean? Like, I didn't really understand. Like, I didn't understand what he meant by being vulnerable, and I didn't understand why you wouldn't want to put that in a painting. Put something that woke you up in the middle of the night and you had to put it into a painting. What else are you supposed to be painting for? And so but let me finish telling you, because it's Mother's Day, and I want to get my mom in the right light now. Because so this happens when I'm 13, and when I'm 30, I'm sitting on the stairs at my parents' house at the top of the stairs, and my mom is sitting right next to me, and I find this box of letters that my mom wrote when she was 15. And it was full of questions. And I said to my mom, Mom, why did you tell me? She had no idea that was like this giant break in like I quit being the daughter that listened, and it was the daughter that gave her gray hair, and at 13, and I said, Mom, why did you tell me not to have questions? And she said, well, that's what I thought I was supposed to do. And I was like, wow, but it was okay, because now at 30, I got her, she was transformed again. So anyway, this all started about finding the magic inside of a book, but I hope to put those questions inside of painting. And last thing, I'm not even on camera, am I? Oh, I just realized, sorry fellas. But the last thing I want to say about it is, I'm okay with failing to make good paintings with that aim, okay? There's all kinds of ways to be a successful painter. I would rather be failing as a painter who's trying to paint something that means something, even if I don't even know what I'm aiming for, than to be a painter that can paint something just for the applause, or just for this. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I'm willing, and that's it. I think, there you go. That's the hardest thing. I went on just really long, but... That was a good sermon?
That's the finest Sunday sermon I've ever heard.
Oh, it is Sunday, isn't it? Yeah, it's
The last 5-minute break for the bottom.
okay.
Last 5-minute break. Are we almost?
We have one more session, I think.
What?
But I knew I was going to do it.
I can't follow that sort of I'm going to give. It wasn't my mother who told me not to question, but I had a similar experience at a moment like that where I'm very Catholic too, and I was in a high school with the Jesuit teachers and everything, and I had questions, and I was reading the Bible, and I was reading Thomas Aquinas and stuff, and I had some questions. I was like, I'm not sure about this or that, and he kind of just stopped me. Even though when I was asking these questions, he says, all right, let me just ask you something first. Do you think you're smarter than Thomas Aquinas? And I said, well, no, and he said, well, then why waste time? He spent his whole life going through all these things, and he got all the answers, and, just go on to other things, so it's kind of that idea of like question.
Yeah, I think that's great, Scott.
I
think that marries with what we were talking about, color and like learning lessons or learning rules, and not, like you just need to learn the rules in order to choose and break.
Yeah, right.
That's it. I mean, and the rules do some efficiency in your learning and your seeing and your question asking and stuff like that.
And even if your questions that you're doing and you come to your provisional conclusion change later, that's what it's about.
That is what it's about.
And every time I go on trips, I like to talk to people about all their different views and their different. When we go to India, I have all kinds of conversations with people about their views in Hinduism, and we go to Muslim countries in Turkey. It's wonderful discussions. And one of the really cool things to me is some of these countries, people will come and talk to me. We had some pretty famous people we were in Turkey who wanted to meet us, and he was like a famous newscaster and stuff. And he said, oh my gosh, he said, I can't say any of this stuff publicly. Country. And certainly friends of ours from Pakistan and other places, in Iran, a lot of people write me from Iran. But one of the most touching things to me is that I get a lot of messages when I'll do a discussion about whatever topic, okay? And I will get messages from people in those other countries, and they'll say, this is the most astonishing thing and exciting thing for them to listen to. And they'll say, by the way, when I do make a comment on your thing, I have a fake account, because in Iran it can be arrested for this, or Pakistan, or all these places. I'll be arrested for the things you guys questioning. Even questioning is considered blasphemy. They can be put in jail for questioning their particular religion or their particular government or whatever. He says, and you'll post these things. I haven't done one of these in a while, but and then we go to the hundreds of posts, comments. I'll post some question about religion or about politics or whatever, and all these other artists will say, well, no, you're wrong about this, and then people will post. That's what I like. The only reason I first started Facebook, when I saw that you could post links and stuff, we'd have these long discussions, and he's like, you're literally, people on there, and you are saying, well, I don't believe in your particular thing. Well, really, I mean, did Ganesh really do this, or did Jesus really do this, or are politicians questioning them? And there's people on there who are just passionately believers of all these things. And then he said, but the most amazing thing, and if anybody gets offensive, I give them one warning, and then I have to ban them. It doesn't happen too often, but on both sides, if even it's my viewpoint, you have to be, so that allows people to do it. But I've got so many emails from people from these different countries who says, but then you get to the end, and everybody's like, oh, and I love your new painting. Oh, and I can't wait to paint with you when we see you next. And they're like, this is like, you've just said, what you believe, I don't believe, and here's why. And then they come back. He said, the fact that you can have openly discussion, which is something we cannot do in our country, without the threat of being jailed and losing your job, all this stuff, they just are just so wish that they could do that. And so like what Rose is saying about questioning, who cares if my opinion is different than yours? That's the whole point, is a conversation. And that's how we all learn things. But in this country, we can do that. We can do that. And people who are afraid to take advantage of that, it's like people would ask me, aren't you afraid that when you express an opinion, people might not buy your paintings? Well, some do. I get all kinds of angry messages, and people say, I never buy your paintings, whatever. But you sell enough. And if you don't want to express what you really want to express, why are you an artist? Why are you a writer? Why are you a filmmaker? And you do it respectfully. There's a difference between that and that. But I have friends in this country from all different viewpoints and religions, and I know from going to these countries that I have this special thing that doesn't exist in way more than half of the world. And when we've gone to China a lot of times, and me and Situ when I went there, that was another time when people would come and talk to me, and they're just like, it's so nice to be able to just say it. And people would speak. They speak among a couple friends, but they know not to post anything and everything. So what Rose is saying about questioning, I really passionately believe that, and I really passionately, even if when people are posting things that I have a different viewpoint of, it's like, yeah, they're honestly expressing their opinion, and maybe I don't agree with it, but, maybe I will believe that someday too, if they convince me So I love that idea. That is probably the most important thing. And that's what I love about meeting people and taking trips, So, yeah. Oh, we're painting again.